Hello, third grade, and welcome to Chapter 3 of Social Studies titled People and Communities. You've learned about physical features that are found in communities such as landforms, bodies of water, and the climate. In this chapter, you'll explore cultural features such as art, music, and dance. You will read about how these features make communities special. Let's go ahead and take a look at our lesson. Now, before we start, we're going to take a look at page 86 and 87, and we're going to go through our vocabulary words. Check off if you know it, you've heard it, or you don't know it for each of the following words: apartheid, artifact, citizen, culture, ethnic group, folktale, heritage, oral tradition, pioneer, and tolerance. In this lesson, you're going to use your investigative skills to explore what culture means and how culture around the world is different and similar. Reading and talking about culture will help you make connections between people and places. How cultures form. When people began forming communities, they also developed cultures. Culture means the values, beliefs, and other ways of life shared by a group of people. Cultures can be as big as a world culture linked by trade and technology. Cultures can also be as small as a family group. Some communities and nations have one main culture. They might have a few smaller cultures. Others, like the United States, are home to many different cultures. Many culture groups have come to the United States over time. Native Americans were the earliest people to live here. They formed unique or special cultures across the continent. Their environments shaped their cultures. People in the East, like the Cherokee, learned to make clothing from plants that grew around them. People further north learned to make clothes from animal furs that lived there. Some cultures used plant dyes to decorate themselves and their goods. Others used stones, shells, or other resources they found nearby. Later, people from Asia, Europe, and other parts of the world also came to the Americas. African people were brought here as enslaved people. They too brought their cultures. Then and now, culture groups work to preserve or keep their cultures alive. They do so through shared activities. These include art, music, stories, games, celebrations, and religious gatherings. Clothing, music, and jewelry, and tools and food all express or show culture. So on these 2 pages, circle the words that you don't know, underline words you've already learned, and list parts of culture in the My Notes section. Reread where are cultures found, highlight ways that the environment affects culture, and describe how do people preserve culture. Once you've completed those tasks, we're going to go on to the next page, pages 92 and 93. On page 92, we're going to explore and we're going to focus on summarizing. So to summarize means to retell something in your own words. And a summary tells the main idea and a few important details. It doesn't tell you every single word that was said, just the important stuff and some details that describe it. So when you're thinking about summarizing, ask yourself, what is this about? This is going to help you understand your topic. Look for main ideas and details such as titles, labels, images, and words on the pages that help you understand what you're learning. Explain it in your own words. What does this section teach you? Based on the text, work with your class to complete the chart below, then summarize the information in the text and images. So our topic here is culture, what it is, and how it forms. Our main idea from what we read is that different groups of people develop their own cultures. Some of the details that we found from this section say that cultures include art, music, stories, language, beliefs, values, customs, tools, and clothing. Environment helps to shape culture. Cultures can be big or small. A nation can have one main culture or many different ones. Those all go in your details section. Now, the summary is you taking all of those ideas and rewriting them in sentences in your own words. For page 93, we're going to take a look at our textbook and read pages 96 to 101. We're going to use our investigative skills to look for evidence that helps you understand what the topic of each section of the text is. Then the evidence will include main ideas and details. This chart is going to help you organize the information that you gather. So let's go ahead and jump into our lesson, culture and ethnicity. Did you know that cultures grow and change over time? A culture is the shared customs of a group of people. A custom is a way of life practiced over a long period of time. Customs can also be called traditions. Cultures form when people come together to create communities. As well as shared customs and traditions, they adopt shared practices like language and beliefs like religion. These help bind people to the community. When a community grows large, people might leave to start new communities. These different communities may now share a culture. This is one way that nations grow. It's why culture spreads from place to place with different ethnic groups. Ethnic groups are made up of people who've come from the same place. For example, ethnic groups like the Irish, Germans, and Slavs came to North America from Europe. Ethnic groups often share a language, history, and other aspects of culture. People who belong to the same ethnic group have the same ethnicity. Some nations have one main ethnic group and culture. Others have many. People of the same ethnicity and culture can live in many countries. Now for our first topic that we're going to cover on our workbook page, our first topic is going to be culture and ethnicity. So that's the main thing that we read about. The main idea is that culture and ethnicity are closely related. And some of the details that we found in our reading is that elements of culture include language, religion, and customs. Ethnic groups have shared geographic regions and often share cultures. That means they're from the same place and they have a lot of the same traditions. And cultures change over time as those communities that they're in also change. So that'll take care of our first section here. Cultures across the globe. All cultures find ways to express or show their values and practices. Parts of Japanese culture include peaceful gardens to show a love of nature and three-line poems called haiku. These poems are meant to express big ideas with only a few words. Hindu temples and sculptures of gods and goddesses show parts of Indian culture. Czechs, Poles, Slovaks, and other Eastern European cultures enjoy the polka. The polka is a kind of folk music and dance. Some cultures share their ideas and customs through oral tradition. Oral tradition refers to stories and poems that are spoken rather than written down. Stories of Anansi, a clever spider, are popular in West African culture. Anansi tales are part of an oral tradition that enslaved African people brought to the Americas. Cultures also share their values through art. Diego Rivera was a Mexican artist. He made large paintings called murals. These paintings cover walls, ceilings, and entire buildings. They show scenes from Mexican history and ways of life. Ink drawings that show a love of nature are part of Japanese culture. And you can see an ink drawing down there at the bottom of the page. Another way people express their culture is through festivals and holidays. The people of Thailand celebrate the Yi Peng Lantern Festival. People send paper lanterns into the sky. When people from many different cultures live in one place, their cultures mix. People pick up ideas and customs from one another. Today, trade, mass media like television and the internet connect many people globally. The picture on the right has a caption underneath it that tells us it's a photo of the Yi Peng Lantern Festival in Chiang Mai, Thailand. Did you know more than 300 languages are spoken in the United States? Unlike some countries, the United States does not have an official language. English is the most widely spoken, followed by Spanish. Tagalog is the third most common spoken language. Tagalog, the third most spoken language, is the language of the Philippines. Multiple Chinese languages include multiple Chinese languages are widely spoken in the United States as well, including Mandarin and Cantonese. Many people speak more than one language. Now, our second section that we're going to fill out in our workbook is about cultures around the world. So that's our topic. Our main idea here is that people around the world preserve and express cultures in many ways. Some details that support that idea is that expressions of cultures include art, music, stories, festivals, and holidays, and religious and spiritual beliefs and gatherings. When people from different cultures interact, their cultures mix. Mass media connects people in a global culture. Schools and families. Children all over the world attend school. Some walk long distances to reach school. In Kenya, students might walk as far as 10 miles to reach a school. Others ride to school on bicycles, buses, trains, or in cars with family members. Different schools have different resources. In some places, students attend many classes in large buildings. Others go to school in small schoolhouses or even outside. Some schools require uniforms. In some places, boys and girls go to separate schools. Technology also varies. While one school uses modern computers, another will do more work with books and paper. All schools work to pass on knowledge and values that are important to their culture. Most schools in Japan require uniforms. Some students in Bangladesh have classes on floating schools. There, seasonal flooding makes roads impassable so students cannot reach regular schools. Families come in all sizes too. Families can include 2 parents, 1 parent, step-parents, and other adult caregivers. Some share one home while others are split between homes. Some families include different races, ethnicities, or cultures. In some cultures, extended families like grandparents, aunts, uncles, and cousins are very important. How families live and work together is also shaped by culture. While families are different throughout the world, they often participate in similar activities. What do you think? Explain to a partner in your own words what culture means. How are your explanations similar and how are they different? Now, if you're doing this from home, you can talk about this with a family member. All right, now for our last 2 sections, we're going to talk about education in different cultures. So we can see on this page, we talked about how school is like in different places. So our topic for our 3rd section here is education in different cultures. And our main idea is that cultures shape ideas about education. Some of the details that we picked up while reading are that not all schools have the same resources. So not all of them use computers or not all of them use traditional textbooks. Dress codes, which is the type of clothing, the type of classes that you attend, and the things that you do at school are different from one culture to another. Just like we said, some schools require uniforms where some don't. Some go to a traditional classroom in a big building, while some go to a small schoolhouse or the floating schools and classes that we read about. And that schools are one way that cultures pass on important ideas, values, and skills to the next generation of kids. Now, the last one we're going to talk about is families in different cultures, which is what we read here on this last page. Cultures shape ideas about family. Now, our details here are that family sizes and relationships are different across the United States and other places of the world. And depending on the culture, extended family members may be a very important part of a family structure. So in the bottom summary section, you're going to summarize or tell your main ideas in a couple of sentences. And you should include all of the main ideas in your summary. Again, these don't all have to be written. This is not written in one sentence to summarize everything. These are multiple sentences, but they give you an idea or it retells the information from your graphic organizer in your own words. Once you've completed those, we're going to go on to our next set of pages to our think about it and write about it section. Review your research based on the information that you've gathered. How do you think culture affects communities? Write and cite evidence. What is culture? What do you think about when you describe the culture of a community? Use information from your text to explain your response. So over here, you're going to use the information and your text evidence that we gathered to put together a paragraph that explains the idea that culture is a way of life. You can talk about the values, art, music, language, and other things that are part of a culture. Use details, and if you're unsure about something, go back to your text and reread a section or reread your graphic organizer to help you put that information together. Now on page 95, connect the essential question. Why is culture important to your community? List 3 ideas to share with others. So you can include any 3 ideas about the importance of culture in your community. Make sure you use complete sentences. There is definitely enough space for that. Once you've completed that, you are done with this lesson. If you have any questions, definitely let me know, 3rd grade, but I think you're going to enjoy completing this lesson. It's going to be quick and easy, and we're going to get to know a lot about each other's cultures throughout. If you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, have an amazing day. Take care. Bye.